Since time immemorial, humanity has sought to decipher the mysteries of existence and the key to accessing the divine. What few people know is that within the sacred scriptures there are hidden codes, secrets that have been guarded for centuries by initiates. But what if I told you that Jesus, the greatest spiritual master in history, knew these secrets? And more, that he mastered the art of the divine names, a knowledge that could reveal the true nature of creation and reality. The Hebrew tradition has always considered sacred names as gateways to access heavenly power. The Tetragrammaton itself, YHWH, was so sacred that it could not be directly pronounced. But Kabbalah, an ancient knowledge shrouded in mystery, teaches that within these names resides the vibrational essence of God. And if Jesus possessed this knowledge, could this explain his miracles, his transcendental wisdom, and his direct connection with the Source? The connection between Kabbalah and Christianity is something that most people are unaware of. For centuries, this relationship was ignored, omitted, and even suppressed. But there are clear indications that the early Christians had access to esoteric teachings that date back to the mystical Jewish tradition. The apostles themselves seem to understand this relationship, although over the years, the literal interpretation of faith has overshadowed these deeper aspects. One of the most enigmatic concepts in Kabbalah is the Shem HaMeforash, the explicit name, which contains 72 divine names, each with a specific purpose. Some scholars believe that Jesus mastered these names and that his connection with God went far beyond what is presented in traditional narratives. In his healings, in his teachings, and even in his resurrection, there are indications that he utilized a knowledge that has been lost over the centuries. The ancient texts mention that the correct pronunciation of sacred names could alter reality, perform healings, and even interfere with the elements of nature. Could this explain the miraculous deeds of Jesus? Did he have access to a spiritual science that few understood? More than just a matter of faith, we are talking about a spiritual technology that could be accessed by those who truly understood the code behind the words. In the Gospels, there are passages that suggest the presence of a hidden knowledge. The very I am pronounced by Jesus directly reflects God's name revealed to Moses in the burning bush. This was not a simple title, but rather a code, a name of power capable of connecting human consciousness to divine reality. And what if the true secret of Christ's teachings was hidden in these words? The mystical tradition has always taught that the universe was created through vibration and the Word. In Genesis, God creates the world by saying, "Let there be light," and light is made. In the Gospel of John, we read that, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." This direct connection between Word and creation is a central pillar of Kabbalah, and also appears in early Christianity. If divine names are keys to accessing different aspects of reality, then Jesus possessed these keys and knew how to use them. But how was this knowledge lost? Why doesn't modern Christian tradition talk about this? Could this be one of the greatest secrets hidden by history? Many scholars suggest that part of this knowledge was preserved in esoteric orders, such as the Essenes, the Gnostics, and even the Templars. The early church, in institutionalizing faith, may have decided that certain aspects of Jesus' original teachings were too dangerous to be freely disseminated. After all, if every individual knew how to access divine power for themselves, what would happen to the religious structures? Throughout this video, we will explore how sacred names influenced Jesus' teachings, how Kabbalah can reveal hidden layers of Christianity, and how this knowledge can be reclaimed today. If words have power, divine names could be the key to understanding the greatest mysteries of existence. But before we proceed, we need to understand the origins of this mystical tradition and how it connected to early Christianity. In the next part, we will delve into the roots of Kabbalah and its profound relationship with the early followers of Christ. Did Jesus really study this ancient wisdom? Since the dawn of civilization, human beings have tried to understand the divine, and establish a direct connection with it. Kabbalah, a system of mystical knowledge, emerged as one of the deepest attempts to decipher the secrets of the universe and the hidden structure of reality. But what few know is that this ancient knowledge greatly influenced early Christianity and may have been a fundamental piece in the teachings of Jesus. The word Kabbalah literally means reception or tradition. It is not a set of random beliefs, but rather an esoteric system passed down by generations of initiates seeking to understand the true nature of God. Its foundations trace back to Hebrew scriptures and an oral tradition preserved by priests, prophets, and scholars of Jewish mysticism. But how did this tradition make its way into Christianity? To understand this connection, we need to travel back in time and look at the Essenes, a mystical Jewish sect that lived in the desert, away from conventional society. They were known for their secret knowledge, their spiritual purity, and their relentless pursuit of direct contact with God. Many researchers believe that Jesus had contact with this community, and that his ideas were deeply influenced by their wisdom. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947, revealed texts written by the Essenes that contain numerous references to Kabbalistic concepts, including the importance of sacred names, numerology, and the idea of a spiritualized Messiah. These same concepts appear in the teachings of Jesus, suggesting that he may have been initiated into these mysteries. Another fundamental point is the oral tradition that accompanied the Torah. The rabbis always taught that beyond the literal interpretation of the scriptures, there was a deeper level of knowledge, accessible only to those who were prepared to receive it. This knowledge was passed on in secret, often from master to disciple, exactly as Jesus did with his apostles. In the Gospel of John, we find a direct connection between the Jewish mystical tradition and the teachings of Christ. John writes, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." This concept that the Word is the basis of creation is present in the Kabbalah, which teaches that Hebrew letters are cosmic energies capable of shaping reality. The relationship between the sacred tetragrams and the identity of Jesus also deserves attention. The name of God, YHWH, was considered so sacred that only priests could pronounce it on special occasions. However, Jesus often referred to himself as I Am, a title that directly refers to the divine name. This suggests that he not only knew the secret of the sacred names, but used them to manifest divine power. The first Christians were aware of this connection and preserved it in texts that were later considered apocryphal or forbidden. The Gospel of Thomas, for example, brings teachings attributed to Jesus that emphasize the search for inner knowledge and the importance of spiritual awakening, deeply Kabbalistic themes. Throughout history, the institutionalized church had to decide which teachings would be preserved and which would be discarded. In its attempt to make religion more accessible to the general public, many esoteric aspects of Christianity were erased or reinterpreted. Thus, the Kabbalistic knowledge, which could offer a deeper understanding of Christ's message, ended up being lost to most believers. But there's something even more intriguing. Some of the early Christians, known as Gnostics, preserved part of this knowledge. They believed that true salvation came from self-knowledge and understanding of divine mysteries. This view closely aligns with what Kabbalah teaches about spiritual enlightenment and the ascension of the soul. When we analyze the teachings of Jesus from this perspective, we realize that he not only preached a path of faith, but also of wisdom and understanding of the universe's mysteries. The very concept of the kingdom of heaven, so prevalent in his discourses, can be interpreted as a state of elevated consciousness, something that Kabbalists call the tree of life. But if Jesus truly mastered this hidden knowledge, where else can we find evidence of this in his miracles and teachings? Did he use the divine names to perform healings and wonders? In the next part, we will dive even deeper into this mystery. We will explore the gospel accounts that suggest that Jesus knew the secrets of the sacred names and used them to manifest divine power. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus performs feats that defy the laws of nature. He heals the blind, calms storms, multiplies loaves, and even raises the dead. For many, these miracles are proof of his divinity. But what if there was something deeper behind them? What if Jesus was tapping into an ancient mystical knowledge, using the vibration of the divine names to alter the reality around him? The Jewish mystical tradition has always taught that the names of God carry unbelievable power. The very creation of the universe, according to Kabbalah, occurred through divine verbalization. God spoke, and the world came into existence. This means that words are not mere symbols, but active forces capable of shaping existence. If Jesus mastered these secrets, could he be using this knowledge to perform his miracles? In the Old Testament, Moses asks God what his name is, and the answer he receives is, "I am that I am." This sacred name, YHWH, is one of the greatest mysteries of spirituality. It was never freely pronounced by the Jews, as it was believed that its vibration was so powerful that only those with great spiritual purity could use it. Jesus, however, repeatedly refers to himself with this same phrase, "I am." In various passages of the Gospels, he declares, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the light of the world. Before Abraham was, I am." These phrases were not mere metaphors. They may have been vibrational keys, spiritual activations that connected Jesus directly to the source. By consciously uttering the divine name, he could have been accessing a higher energy capable of healing, transforming and manifesting miracles in the physical world. One of the most intriguing moments in the Gospels is the resurrection of Lazarus. When Jesus arrives at the tomb, he not only prays, but calls Lazarus by name and commands him to come out. This detail is crucial, as in esoteric tradition, a person's name carries their spiritual identity. By pronouncing it with the correct intention and aligned with the divine names, Jesus could be restoring Lazarus's vital energy and bringing him back to life. Another fascinating event occurs when Jesus calms the storm. The disciples are terrified as the boat violently rocks on the waters. But Jesus, fearlessly, simply speaks to the wind and the sea. "Be still, be quiet." Immediately, everything quiets down. Was he merely exercising spiritual authority, or could he have used a sacred name to harmonize the forces of nature? In the episode of the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, we see a similar pattern. Before the food multiplies, Jesus lifts his eyes to the heavens, gives thanks, and pronounces sacred words. Some traditions suggest that he might have invoked the divine name at this moment, activating a vibrational energy capable of generating abundance from nothing. Another important detail in the Gospels is the account of Judas's betrayal. When the soldiers arrive to arrest Jesus, he asks them, "Who are you looking for?" They reply, "Jesus of Nazareth," and he then declares, "I am." At that very moment, everyone falls backward, as if an invisible force had knocked them down. This detail is overlooked by many, but it could be evidence that Jesus pronounced God's secret name with a level of power that the soldiers could not withstand. If we analyze these events from the perspective of Kabbalah, we see that they follow a pattern. The use of the word, the vibration of the divine name, and the manifestation of immediate results are key elements of the Jewish mystical tradition. Kabbalists have always taught that knowledge of the divine names allows the initiate to access higher spiritual forces and shape reality according to divine will. But if Jesus really knew this secret, did he teach it to his disciples? There are indications that the apostles also used the divine names to heal and perform extraordinary feats. In the Acts of the Apostles, Peter and John heal a paralytic man at the temple gate. But how do they do this? They simply say, "In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." The key is in the name, for in the esoteric tradition, the name is the bearer of spiritual energy. Over time, this knowledge began to fade, The institutionalized church emphasized faith over direct spiritual practice, and the mysteries of the divine names were gradually forgotten. However, some esoteric traditions continue to preserve them, and today, we can catch glimpses of this knowledge in ancient writings and in Kabbalah. If the names of God are gateways to access higher energies, does this mean that anyone can learn to use them? Can this knowledge still be reclaimed and applied today? In the next section, we will explore the divine names and the power of creation, investigating how the mystical tradition teaches that sacred words can influence reality and transform our life. Since the dawn of humanity, the power of words has always been shrouded in mystery. Ancient cultures knew that sounds were not mere expressions of thought, but active forces capable of shaping reality. Genesis states that God created the world through the word, "Let there be light," and light came into being. But was this just a metaphor? What if the divine names contained a vibrational code capable of altering the structure of the universe? Kabbalah teaches that everything that exists was formed from the sacred letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Each letter is not just a graphic symbol, but a specific vibrational energy that participates in creation. The names of God composed of these letters are keys that unlock different aspects of reality. If Jesus mastered this knowledge, he could have used the divine names as a tool to manifest his connection with the source. One of the most fascinating concepts in Kabbalah is the Shem HaMeforash, or the explicit name. This name is composed of 72 divine names, each with a specific function. The mystical tradition teaches that these 72 names are gateways that allow the initiate to access different aspects of creation. Some are used for healing, others for protection, and others for spiritual enlightenment. Now let's consider the Christian tradition. Jesus sent his disciples on missions to heal and cast out evil spirits. But how did they do this? They had no wealth, no armies, no political power. However, they used something that gave them authority over the physical and spiritual world: the divine names. In Mark 16:17, Jesus states, "In my name, they will drive out demons, they will speak new languages, they will lay their hands on the sick, and they will be healed." Here, the power of the name is explicit. It does not only refer to a symbolic identity, but to a real force capable of transforming matter. If we look at the multiplication of loaves and fishes from this perspective, we will see something interesting. What does Jesus do before the miracle? He lifts his eyes to the heavens and utters sacred words. In various mystical traditions, the correct verbalization of a divine name can alter the structure of matter. Could it be that he was tapping into the universe's creative energy to manifest abundance? The Lord's Prayer, the most famous prayer in Christianity, also contains hidden layers of meaning. Kabbalah teaches us that numbers have great spiritual significance. The Lord's Prayer contains exactly 72 words in the original Aramaic, the same number as the divine names. This suggests that this prayer may be a vibrational code designed to align human consciousness with the source. But there is something even deeper. The Tetragrammaton, YHWH, is not a common name. It cannot be fully pronounced because its letters represent the flow of breath. This means that every human breath is an unconscious invocation of the divine name. When Jesus said, "I am," he was not just identifying himself. He was activating the power of the Tetragrammaton within himself. Modern science is beginning to touch on this mystery. The study of sound frequencies and vibrational resonance reveals that certain waves can reorganize material particles. This aligns perfectly with the Kabbalistic teaching that sound shapes reality. The esoteric tradition states that ancient Hebrew priests knew how to pronounce the name of God so precisely that they could influence natural laws. What if Jesus was a master of this spiritual science? If he knew the divine names and how to use them, then what we call miracle might have actually been the application of a forgotten mystical technology. But why has this knowledge been lost? Why does the Church no longer teach about the divine names? The answer may lie in the very nature of this power. If every person knew how to directly access the source, without intermediaries, what would happen to religious institutions? Over the centuries, there has been an effort to centralize faith, making access to the divine something exclusive to spiritual leaders. Even so, fragments of this knowledge survived. In the Middle Ages, some secret orders preserved the study of the sacred names. The Jewish Kabbalists, the Christian alchemists, and even the Templars kept this knowledge alive, but only among the initiated. Today, we are rediscovering these truths. The vibrational resonance of words, the hidden codes in scriptures, and the relationship between human consciousness and the creation of the universe are being studied from new perspectives. If the ancient Kabbalists were correct, this means that anyone can learn to use the divine names to transform their life. But how does this work in practice? How can we access this forgotten power? Could prayer and meditation be ways to activate this energy? In the next section, we will delve into sacred numerology and the language of God. We will understand how the hidden numbers in the Bible and the Kabbalah reveal incredible secrets about the universe and the identity of Jesus. If creation was made through the Word, could there be a hidden structure behind the divine language? Kabbalah teaches that not only words, but also numbers carry a specific vibration, acting as codes that reveal the secret architecture of the universe. What if numbers were the key to deciphering the mysteries of early Christianity and Jesus' connection with Kabbalah? Since ancient times, the wise understood that numbers were not just symbols for quantifying, but represented living forces, manifestations of divine consciousness. Pythagoras, one of the earliest mathematicians and philosophers, taught that everything is number, as he saw reality as a perfectly harmonized mathematical symphony. This concept is also deeply present in the Hebrew tradition, where each letter of the alphabet has a numeric value and a hidden meaning. Gematria, a Kabbalistic practice, reveals hidden layers within sacred texts. Through it, words and phrases can be numerically analyzed to unveil secret patterns. One of the greatest examples of this is found in the very name of Jesus. In Hebrew, the name Yeshua, YSHV, has a numerical value of 386. Interestingly, this number is associated with various words that describe salvation and divinity in the mystical tradition. Moreover, when we add the numerical values of the Tetragrammaton YHWH, YAHVH, we get 26, a deeply sacred number that symbolizes divine unity. But there's something even more impressive. In the New Testament, the number 888 is associated with the name of Jesus in Greek. Unlike the number 666, which represents the limitation of matter, 888 symbolizes infinity and resurrection. Coincidence or a code intentionally inserted into the sacred texts? Sacred numerology also manifests itself in the structure of Christianity. The number 12 appears repeatedly. The 12 apostles represent the spiritual archetypes that support the manifestation of truth. The 12 tribes of Israel reflect divine organization on the earthly plane. The 12th sign of the zodiac and the 12 months of the year symbolize complete cycles of transformation. If these numbers were not important, why do they appear so often in sacred texts? The answer may lie in the fact that creation follows a precise mathematical plan, and Jesus' teachings were aligned with this cosmic pattern. The number 7 is another fascinating example. In the Bible, it appears as a symbol of perfection and completeness. 7 days of creation in Genesis, 7 churches in Revelation, 7 requests in the Lord's Prayer. Kabbalah teaches that the number 7 represents the connection between heaven and earth, between the spiritual and the material. That's why Jesus' teachings often revolve around this number. He was showing how to balance these two worlds. But there's an even more mysterious number, 153. In the Gospel of John, Jesus performs a miracle where his disciples pull up a net with exactly 153 fish. This number was not chosen at random. In numerology, 153 represents spiritual completeness and the connection between God and humanity. Some scholars believe this was a secret code that Jesus left for those who had eyes to see and ears to hear. If we analyze the Kabbalistic tree of life, we will see that it contains 10 spheres, sephirot, and 22 paths, totaling 32, a number associated with hidden wisdom. The very name of God, in the Hebrew tradition, can be numerically analyzed to reveal perfect geometric patterns. This means that the universe follows a sacred mathematical structure, and Jesus, knowing these mysteries, could have been using these codes to teach hidden truths. If Jesus knew that numbers held spiritual secrets, this would explain why his parables often involved specific quantities. When he spoke of 30, 60, and 100 times more fruit in the harvest, he wasn't just mentioning arbitrary numbers, he was conveying a vibrational truth about spiritual growth. The ancients knew that words, numbers, and vibration are manifestations of the same divine principle. Prayer, for example, is not just an act of faith, but a process of energy alignment. The way we pronounce a prayer, the rhythm, and even the intention behind the words influence the effect it will have. Modern science is beginning to prove what mystics have always known. Experiments with cymatics show that sound can reorganize matter particles into geometric patterns. This means that the vibration of the word literally shapes reality. Could it be that Jesus understood this spiritual science and used the divine names to manifest his miracles? If numbers and the names of God are keys to accessing higher dimensions, can we learn to use them to transform our life? Are there specific prayers and techniques that allow this direct connection with the Creator? In the next section, we will dive into the power of prayer and the activation of divine names. We will explore how Jesus taught to pray in a different way, and how ancient mystics used sacred words to connect with the divine. Since time immemorial, prayer has been seen as a gateway to the divine, a means of direct communication between humanity and God. However, few understand the real power that lies behind the sacred words. Could it be that Jesus taught a specific form of prayer, based on the vibration of divine names? And what if prayer was not just a plea, but a spiritual technology capable of altering reality? The Kabbalistic tradition teaches that prayer is not simply an act of faith, but an energy alignment. Words, when pronounced correctly, not only express feelings, but resonate on subtle levels, activating spiritual forces that can modify consciousness and even matter. This idea is also present in early Christianity, where the first followers of Jesus believed that praying in God's name meant directly invoking his presence and power. In the Gospels, Jesus not only prayed but also taught his disciples to do the same. The most interesting thing is that he made it clear that it was not necessary to use many words, but rather to understand the essence of prayer. In Matthew 6:7 he warns, "And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard for their many words." This suggests that effective prayer does not depend on the amount of words, but on the intention and the correct vibration that they carry. A clear example of this is the Lord's Prayer, the most well-known prayer in Christianity. In its original structure, it has hidden layers that reveal its vibrational nature. As previously mentioned in Aramaic, the Lord's Prayer contains exactly 72 words, the same number as the divine names in Kabbalah. This is not a coincidence. The prayer was designed to be a spiritual activation, an alignment with higher consciousness. Each line of the Lord's Prayer contains a profound code. Hallowed be thy name acknowledges the vibrational power of the divine name. Thy kingdom come represents the materialization of the divine on earth. Thy will be done, a conscious surrender to the flow of creation. Give us this day our daily bread, the connection with universal abundance. Forgive us our debts, the process of spiritual purification. Lead us not into temptation, the elevation of consciousness against lower forces. But there is something even more remarkable. Jesus taught to pray in secret. In Matthew 6:6, he instructs, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen, and your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." This recommendation was not merely symbolic, but a technique to raise the vibration and focus the energy of prayer. Kabbalah also teaches that the most powerful prayers are made in the silence of the soul, far from the distractions of the outside world. The ancient mystics knew that the correct vibration of sacred words could open portals to other spiritual dimensions. Some Christian esoteric schools believed that Jesus transmitted certain divine mantras to his disciples, which were used for healing and spiritual manifestations. This practice is very reminiscent of the use of the 72 divine names, each carrying a specific frequency for different purposes. Another fascinating aspect is the use of vibrational prayer. Certain chants and psalms were sung in a specific way to elevate consciousness and attract divine presence. King David himself, author of many of the Psalms, used this technique. The Kabbalistic tradition teaches that the Psalms are coded prayers, full of hidden names and combinations of letters that, when pronounced correctly, activate specific energies. Jesus knew this. When he performed healings, he often simply pronounced sacred words. In the case of the resurrection of Jairus' daughter, he only said Talitha Kumi, Mark 5:41, which means, "Little girl, get up." On another occasion, when healing a deaf mute, he touched the man's ears and said, Ephphatha, which means, "Be opened," Mark 7:34. These words carry a profound vibrational power and were not used randomly. Another important detail in the Gospels is that Jesus often looked up to the heavens before praying. This gesture was not merely symbolic. Many mystical traditions teach that looking upwards aligns consciousness with the higher spheres. This suggests that he understood the need to direct the energy of prayer, something that is also taught in Kabbalah and other spiritual traditions. But if prayer has such a profound power, why don't many people get immediate results? The answer may lie in vibrational frequency. Faith and intention are essential components of prayer, but it is also necessary for the person to be in a state of high energy. This means that prayers made with fear, doubt, or despair may have a limited impact, while those made with conviction and total surrender generate real transformations. Prayer also has a direct impact on our biology. Modern studies on heart resonance show that when someone prays with devotion, the heart rhythm harmonizes and positively influences the entire body. This effect can be compared to what happens when a singer hits the right frequency and breaks a glass. The vibration affects the structure of the object, and prayer affects the structure of reality. If divine names carry specific frequencies, does this mean that anyone can learn to use them to transform their life? Could there be ancient methods to activate the power of prayer in an even more effective way? In the next section, we will explore the forbidden manuscripts and the lost knowledge. We will understand how some of the apocryphal Gospels reveal hidden truths about Christian Kabbalah and the esoteric teachings of Jesus. Throughout history, certain truths have been carefully concealed, relegated to oblivion, or labeled as heresies. But why? What was so dangerous in these texts that led to their exclusion from the official scriptures? Could they contain fragments of Christian Kabbalah, hidden teachings about the divine names, and the true power of human consciousness? The history of the apocryphal Gospels is marked by controversies and mysteries. Unlike the four canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, these texts were considered dangerous by the early church and, in many cases, banned and destroyed. But some survived. Among them, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and the Dead Sea Scrolls offer glimpses of a Christianity very different from the one officially taught. The Gospel of Thomas, for example, contains a collection of teachings attributed to Jesus that emphasize self-knowledge as the key to the divine. Unlike the traditional Gospels, which focus on miracles and historical events, Thomas presents a mystical Jesus who says, "The kingdom of God is within you and around you. When you come to know yourselves, you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the living God." This statement resonates deeply with Kabbalah, which teaches that true spiritual knowledge does not come from external dogmas, but from inner search. For Kabbalists, the awakening of consciousness is the real miracle, and understanding the divine names means accessing this deeper truth. Another fascinating text is the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which suggests that Jesus imparted secret teachings to his closest disciple. In one of the most striking passages, Peter asks Mary, "Sister, we know that the Master loved you more than all other women. Tell us the words he spoke to you that you know, but we do not." Maria then reveals a series of lessons about spiritual ascension and detachment from the material world, concepts deeply aligned with Kabbalah. The idea that Jesus conveyed teachings reserved for a few initiates is reinforced here, suggesting that there was a higher level of knowledge that was not recorded in the official Gospels. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947, brought even more mysteries to light. Written by a mystical Jewish community known as the Essenes, these texts reveal a spirituality much deeper and more symbolic than the institutionalized religion of the time. They speak of a master of justice, an enlightened being who guided his disciples on the path of divine truth. Many researchers believe that Jesus had contact with the Essenes and absorbed their teachings. This community practiced meditation, studied the divine names, and believed that a direct connection with God was possible through the elevation of consciousness. Their beliefs strongly align with Kabbalah, suggesting that this tradition was already present among spiritually advanced Jews even before the birth of Christ. But what happened to these teachings? If Jesus really taught a Christian Kabbalah, why don't we find these concepts in the traditional Gospels? The answer may lie in the formation of the Church itself. In the first centuries of Christianity, there was a great diversity of beliefs and interpretations about the message of Jesus. The Gnostics, for example, believed that salvation came from inner knowledge, gnosis, not by following religious dogmas. They taught that the universe was a vibrational field and that certain divine names had the power to free the soul from material illusion. However, as the Church was structuring itself as an institution, it needed a unified doctrine to maintain order. Thus, at the Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, texts were selected and others were discarded. The Gospels that spoke of a mystical Jesus, who taught hidden secrets about the nature of existence, were rejected. The emphasis shifted to faith and obedience, rather than esoteric knowledge. But some secret orders continued to preserve these teachings. The Templars, for example, had contact with ancient manuscripts that, according to reports, contained revelations about Christian Kabbalah. During the Crusades, they acquired mystical knowledge from both the Essenes and the Islamic Sufis, expanding their understanding of the divine names and their spiritual application. The Rosicrucians also carried on this tradition, studying the relationship between numbers, vibration, and divine language. They saw Jesus as an initiatory master, who left hidden keys within the Gospels for those capable of deciphering them. Even within the Catholic tradition, some mystics seem to have access to this knowledge. Saint John of the Cross, Saint Teresa of Avila, and other saints described mystical experiences that resemble Kabbalistic practices, including altered states of consciousness, visions, and spiritual enlightenment through the repetition of sacred names. But what about today? Can we still access these teachings? The answer is yes. The divine names were never really lost, they just became hidden, waiting for those who wish to rediscover them. Understanding the divine names and their vibration does not simply mean knowing sacred words, but rather knowing how to use them to transform one's own life. This was the great key of the ancient mystics, aligning oneself with divine energy through consciousness and the Word. But how can this knowledge be applied in practice? Can we use the divine names for healing, protection, and manifestation of blessings? How to bring this power into our everyday life? In the next section, we will explore the power of divine names in practical life. Let's discover how the ancient masters used this knowledge to influence reality and how we can incorporate it into our spiritual journey. The wisdom of the divine names has always been present in the deepest spiritual traditions, but their practical application was reserved for those who were ready to understand their true meaning. If Jesus knew and used these names, it means that they were not just symbols, but powerful spiritual tools that can transform reality. The question is, how can we access them and apply them in our daily life? The first thing we need to understand is that divine names are not merely sets of letters. They carry a specific vibration that directly influences consciousness and the surrounding environment. Kabbalists teach that pronouncing a sacred name with intention and reverence creates a resonance that can alter energy patterns and open spiritual pathways. A clear example of this is the practice of meditating on the names of God. For centuries, Hebrew sages used specific combinations of letters and sounds to reach heightened states of consciousness. Some early Christian traditions also taught similar techniques, where certain chants and repetitions were used to connect with the divine. But how does this work in practice? How can we apply the divine names for healing, protection, and personal transformation? The answer lies in the alignment between intention, sound, and consciousness. 1. The divine names and spiritual healing. The Kabbalistic tradition teaches that illness is not just a physical issue, but an energy imbalance. If everything in the universe vibrates at a certain frequency, a sick body is vibrating at a misaligned frequency. The divine names, when pronounced correctly, can restore this harmony and rebalance the body's energy. One of the most commonly used names for healing is YHWH Rapha, the Lord who heals. In the Christian esoteric tradition, it is believed that Jesus used this principle when he laid hands on the sick and pronounced specific words. The simple act of vocalizing a sacred name with faith can activate deep processes of physical and emotional regeneration. Another very powerful name is El Shaddai, which represents divine abundance and nourishment. This name is often used in prayers to restore vitality and bring strength in times of weakness. 2. The divine names and spiritual protection. In the Gospels, Jesus says, "In my name they will drive out demons." Mark 16:17. This verse does not only refer to evil spirits, but to any negative energy that may affect a person's life. The divine names are like spiritual shields, as their vibration creates a barrier against external influences. In the Kabbalistic tradition, one of the most commonly used names for protection is Adonai Tsevaot, which means the Lord of Hosts. This name is invoked when there is a need for strength against adversarial energies and spiritual challenges. Another powerful name for protection is Elohim Gibor, which represents divine justice and the removal of obstacles. Kabbalists believe that by repeating this name with intention, it is possible to ward off unseen dangers and cut ties with energies that no longer serve the soul's purpose. 3. The divine names and the manifestation of blessings. Jesus taught that, "Whatever you ask in my name, believing, you will receive." Matthew 21:22. This means that the Word has the power to create realities. Kabbalists have always known this, and that's why they developed specific techniques to manifest blessings through the divine names. The name YHWH Jireh, the Lord who provides, is one of the most commonly used to attract prosperity and resources. Many people throughout history have witnessed miraculous changes in their lives by using this name in prayers and meditations. Another extremely powerful name for manifestation is Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, which means I am that I am. This was the name revealed to Moses in the burning bush, and many believe it carries the pure vibration of creation. When we pronounce this name with intention, we are activating our own co-creative power. 4. How to practice connection with divine names. Now that we understand the importance of divine names, how can we incorporate them into our practical life? Here are some effective techniques. Meditation with the names. Choose a divine name that resonates with your current need. Sit in a quiet place, breathe deeply, and repeat the name aloud or mentally. Imagine its energy filling your body and your aura. Writing and visualization. Writing the divine names is also a powerful practice. Some Kabbalists draw the names on scrolls and keep them close for protection and spiritual connection. Intentional prayer. When praying, try to incorporate the divine names into your dialogue with God. Instead of just asking for something, try declaring with conviction using a sacred name. Chants and mantras. In early Christianity, certain divine names were chanted as mantras to elevate consciousness. Try singing a name in a comfortable tone and feel its vibration expanding around you. The impact of connection with the divine names. When we consciously use the divine names, we are reconnecting with the ancient wisdom that has been lost over the centuries. This knowledge was reserved for the initiated, as it carries immense transformative power. The Kabbalists assert that each divine name is a gateway to an aspect of divine consciousness, and that by pronouncing them, we are activating these aspects within us. This explains why Jesus constantly referred to the Father's name and said that everything he did was in his name. But what happens when humanity awakens to this truth? Could the rediscovery of this knowledge lead to a new level of global spirituality? Are we on the verge of a spiritual renaissance where Jesus' esoteric teachings will finally be understood? In the next and final part, we will explore the lost code and the return of forgotten knowledge. We will understand how humanity can reclaim this wisdom and what it means for the future of spirituality. For centuries, the true spiritual knowledge has been hidden, fragmented in forbidden texts, whispered in secret societies, and encoded in symbols that few managed to decipher. But now, something is happening. Humanity is awakening. The quest for spiritual truth is more intense than ever, and what was once the privilege of a few is being revealed to all. Are we witnessing the return of the forgotten knowledge? The esoteric teachings of Jesus, hidden for centuries, are beginning to emerge again. Today, Kabbalah scholars, Christian spirituality researchers, and consciousness scientists are arriving at the same conclusions. The universe is vibrational, and the divine name is the key to accessing its sacred structure. In the past, this knowledge was restricted to priests, spiritual masters, and initiates. Jewish Kabbalists knew that the divine names contained vibrational codes capable of influencing reality. The early Gnostic Christians understood that the connection with God did not go through rigid dogmas, but through the awakening of consciousness. Jesus taught this. But why was this knowledge erased? Throughout history, religious and political leaders have understood that true power does not lie in military strength or wealth, but in controlling people's consciousness. When an individual discovers that they can directly access the source, without intermediaries, they become free. This is the greatest danger to any system seeking to maintain control over the masses. That's why the apocryphal Gospels were suppressed. That's why the Kabbalah was kept secret for centuries. And that's why only now, with the rise of information and collective consciousness, we are beginning to rediscover these truths. But what does it mean to reclaim this knowledge today? Is it enough to just understand the divine names? Or is there a greater calling, a deeper responsibility behind this revelation? 1. The call for spiritual awakening. The discovery of the divine names is not just an intellectual curiosity, it's an invitation to a new way of living, When Jesus said, "I am," he wasn't just referring to himself, but teaching that this is the identity of every awakened human being. Each of us carries the divine spark within us, and by understanding this truth, we become co-creators of reality. The Kabbalistic tradition has always taught that the earth is a reflection of heaven, and that by raising our consciousness, we transform the world around us. This means that each individual who awakens to the power of the divine names contributes to the spiritual expansion of humanity. The question is, what will we do with this knowledge? 2. The impact of collective resonance. The ancient sages knew that the vibration of words can influence global consciousness. Modern studies in resonance show that when a significant number of people share the same thought or emotion, it generates an effect in the planet's energy field. Now imagine millions of people understanding and consciously using the divine names. Imagine the impact of this on the vibrational frequency of humanity. Could this knowledge be the key to the great shift in consciousness that so many are hoping for? The Christian tradition speaks of a new heaven and a new earth. Kabbalah teaches that we are approaching tikkun olam, the restoration of the world, and consciousness scientists talk about the rise of humanity to a new level of perception. Is it a coincidence? Or are these different ways of describing the same event? 3. The future of spirituality and the integration of ancient knowledge. Today, we have a unique opportunity to integrate the mystical knowledge of the past with the scientific discoveries of the present. Quantum physics confirms that the universe is governed by vibrations and that consciousness influences matter, exactly what Kabbalists and Jesus' esoteric teachings have been asserting for millennia. This means that the study of the divine names is not just a matter of faith, but a legitimate field of spiritual research and exploration. The more we understand the vibrational nature of the universe, the more we can utilize this wisdom to heal, protect, and transform our reality. 4. How to retrieve the lost code. If divine names are keys to accessing the energy of creation, then we should use them wisely. Here are some ways to apply this knowledge in daily life. Self-knowledge. Ask yourself who you truly are beyond the beliefs imposed by society. As Jesus taught, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Meditation and conscious prayer. Use the divine names as gateways to access higher states of consciousness. The correct pronunciation, combined with pure intention, can bring about profound changes. Vibration of words. Be mindful of what you speak, for every word carries a frequency. Declaring "I am," followed by a positive quality, "I am light, I am love, I am healing," is a form of vibrational activation. Sharing knowledge. The more people awaken to this truth, the quicker the collective consciousness will rise. The great revelation, the name as the final key. At the end of his journey, Jesus made a profound statement. "Father, I have manifested your name to the men whom you gave me out of the world." John 17:6. This suggests that Christ's true mission was to reveal the divine name and teach how to access it. If the names of God are the key to true spiritual connection, then rediscovering them is rediscovering the very purpose of humanity. This could be the final revelation, the missing piece for us to understand the true potential of the human being as a co-creator of reality. Now that the lost code of Christian Kabbalah begins to be revealed, the decision is in our hands. Will we just observe, or will we use this wisdom to transform our lives and the world around us? Knowledge is back. The mystery has been unraveled. And now, what will you do with it? Now that the lost code of Christian Kabbalah is beginning to be revealed, the decision is in your hands, mind unfettered. What do you think? Do you believe that divine names can truly influence reality? Or do you think this knowledge has been kept secret for another reason? Comment below. Which sacred name resonates most with you and why? Your opinion is essential because together we are manifesting a higher field of consciousness. What if I told you that there is an even deeper secret, hidden for centuries within the walls of the Vatican? What the Church doesn't want you to know about the true story of Jesus, what has been forbidden, concealed, and coded in the most secret documents of mankind. Click now to watch The Forbidden Secret of the Vatican, Hidden Truth About Jesus, and brace yourself for an even deeper revelation. See you there, Mind Unfettered.